Good morning. Hello. I'm home. Home sweet home. I'm in the dining room. I've been home for a few days. We got home on Sunday. And today's already Wednesday. So I had a lot of laundry to do. A lot of unpacking. And we did so much fun stuff on our trip that I had to sit down and write down or strategically place things that I want to show you. Let's see. So on November, we left Saturday afternoon, about 11 o'clock. We went to Idaho and a little sightseeing tour to Utah and through Nevada. I live in California. So we took a 8-day road trip with my husband, my oldest daughter, my middle daughter, and my son. And we had a great time. So before we left on Saturday, I went and checked the mailbox, and my good old friends over at Hirschner's sent me some passenger seat entertainment. They sent me a catalog, and this is their one for you, one to give catalog. So I sat and I looked through that the first, couple of hours. I really took my time. I had nothing else to do and no rush. I did a lot of math in the new catalog. I broke down yardage and price. I was looking for, I have a lot of very beautiful, colorful finger weight yarn. So I was kind of looking for neutral colors to blend with those to make items, and this was a lot of entertainment on the road. I really enjoyed that. I did have that shipping problem for the Halloween yarn, so I didn't place an order on the road. I might, who knows. I did take my travel pouch with me that I got on the Sierra Nevada yarn crawl. And the yarn that I took with me, I didn't take a whole lot. I was packing light, and I figured there's some little places to stop along the way. There will be pictures at the end, some heavy editing. So if this isn't the right size, I'm trying, people. Thank you for visiting. I took this this eyelash, ethereal eyelash with me. It's a soft blue gray. This is all that I have left from the trip of this stuff. So I took that with me, and I cast on a Ross hat the night before. I just cast on and started my 2x2 ribbing down there at the bottom. And I picked up this palm from Hobby Lobby, 99 cents for the smaller one. Complements this hat well. This one I gave to my oldest to look at, and then she wore it the rest of the trip, so I know she really likes it. So I'll be back to that hat. So I cast on that hat and I worked on it all day Saturday. We drove for 11 hours on Saturday. We went all the way through California into Nevada. We went up to the top of Nevada, and Nevada connects to Idaho. We did not go into Idaho the first night. We were all tired. We needed to stretch our legs. We did some bathroom stops, but we were all excited to just hurry up and get there. So the first night we stopped in Wilkins, Elko, at a little hotel along the side of the road that we just found on hotels.com. Just somewhere quick to stay. They served breakfast in the morning. It was a good night's sleep. Fair. We were excited. We still wanted to keep going. So we were a little bit from the border. The next day we drove into Idaho. So when you pass Nevada and Idaho, in Nevada is a little town called Jackpot. And it's a little casino that a lot of people in Idaho come down to do the casinos, and that's the quickest little place to stop. So that was cute. Gas station, hotel, a couple littler casinos. It looks like it's growing a tiny bit. And we checked into the hotel. We stayed at the Hilton. We had some points on a credit card for some free stays through Hilton. So we stayed there for the next 5 nights. I kind of jotted down a bunch of scribble to help remind me to talk about it. So we checked in. They did an amazing breakfast. Every morning there was waffles. There was pumpkin spice waffles. There was, one of them was melted vanilla waffles. And they had omelets. Each morning they switched up their protein. There was ham. There was sausage, bacon. They just switched them all up. They had oatmeal with all kinds of toppings, not the little instant oatmeal. They had like a crock pot with, on the side there was raisins and walnuts and fruit and syrups and all kinds of stuff. There's a huge selection of cereal. We did not get bored with the breakfast. It was I wouldn't cook all that for breakfast here at home. When you climbed into the bed sheets, they smelled like fresh bleach. We slept very good. Those were cozy beds. And we went to visit family so Paul, Rupert, and Burley are all very small little towns, farm towns. And we visited family through there. Heavy on the potatoes. When you get on an on-ramp or an off-ramp, you see where the overloaded trucks have tipped a little bit and potatoes fell along the exit ramps. There's a Gosner's Creamery, milk, shelf-stable milk. I've seen their products in the Dollar Tree here at home, but they usually have a storefront where they serve ice cream and cheese curds, but they're permanently closed, so we didn't get to do that. We've done it previous years. That was fun. We drove around. We did a lot of visiting. Everything's slow pace, not really what we're used to here. We have like things to do and check off lists and stuff like that. So it was really nice just to take a couple of days and just, what do we want to do? Anything. There's a little upholstery shop I think it's actually in Rupert, and it's an upholstery shop, and in the window it says Alpaca Woman, and she sells alpaca yarn. Every year that we've been there, this is our third visit, each day, a few times while we're in town, my husband mentions that she's there, and I've known people to go in and tell me wonderful things about her wonderful fibers, and he always says, oh, we should stop. Oh, we'll stop tomorrow. Or, oh, we'll stop next time we drive through town. Or, it's a small town. It's hard to predict the hours or when she's going to be open. Or, again, he drove on past. We didn't stop this time. But that's okay, because that's a reason to go back and visit again soon. She does not have an internet presence, so I can't go on and order online. But it's definitely a reason to go back and visit soon. Gotta go visit the Alpaca Woman. So I got a lot of the knitting done in the hotel. It took a couple of days to finish this hat. So that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we went for another drive. We went up to Sun Valley, which was, I think it was 2 hours there, 2 hours back. It goes up through the valley to snow. We wanted to see snow. We're from California. We don't get snow here at our house. So we went up to Sun Valley. There's a little airport, and the homes are like ranch homesteads. There's a lot of hot springs going up through there. They were closed. The resorts for those were closed. And then we tried to look for park system and trails to go through there. We went all the way up through Sun Valley. There's a few small little towns. They're beautiful. They look like they're out of a Hallmark channel. There was Ketchum, was the highest point that we went to. So we drove through a Haley, Ketchum, and then there was a couple more up there in Sun Valley. I was told, I didn't see any, but I was told that there's a lot of celebrities that have homes up there because it's a huge skiing area. And when we were in Ketchum, there was a little yarn shop. It was called Knit and Needle. And it's a cute little town with rockside buildings and the coolest Starbucks I've ever seen. It had, the walls on the outside were like logs or trimmings of logs, but not like a log cabin where they're laying horizontal. They were just the ends of the logs on all of, it was a Starbucks. It was awesome. I'll put a picture. I took a lot of pictures. So we stopped at Knit and Needle. Cute little shop. The back half was all embroidery thread and printed patterns for embroidery. The women in there were incredibly sweet. They were so nice. They were so welcoming. Lots of hand-dyed yarn. A lot of it was exclusive just for Ketchum, like in the local area. And they had little leather tags that you fold over your project and you put a couple stitches in it. This one says made with love, and then there's like a little heart, and it's the vegan leather and stamped. Cutie, cutie. And so I just stitched that on to around the brim of the hat for Nola, my oldest. Cute, just adds that little bit of finished detail. The hat is cute on its own. It didn't need any accessories. But when you add the little details, she loves it. I did when I decreased, I did the five decreases, and it makes this beautiful little ridge star on the top. So did that one. And then, I bought 2 of those. This one's a patch that Lily picked out. Not ready to show this hat yet. Haven't started it. In the agenda, haven't started it. And this one says handmade, and it's got a little crochet hook and a little ball of yarn. And then they had a little bowl off to the side on a bookshelf with these buttons. Handmade with love. Now, I've seen these on Etsy, and I've seen some Temu purchases where people have purchased these little buttons, and I think I've gotten some Amazon ads for them. They're right around, usually around $1, maybe a little less, sometimes a little more. And then we're in a little handmade bowl. And so I just picked, I think I picked up like 2 of them or something, because they didn't have a price and I had no idea. That's a weird thing. I'm going to talk about that in Vegas too, about the pricing in other states. In California, everything has a price tag on it. And I know that there's sales tax on it because we're not Oregon. We got sales tax. And so I calculate in my head when I go shopping of how much I'm going to spend or how I want to budget. But in Idaho, a little bit in Utah, not so much. Utah had some prices. Idaho had some prices. There were no prices on these buttons. So when I got up to the front, the lovely, lovely lady said that she wasn't sure and that she works in the shop a few days a week. And she wasn't sure. So she looked through the computer and couldn't find a price. And she found some buttons that were handmade, but not like handmade with love. And they were like $6. I was like, no way. Sorry, lady. They're cute, not that cute. And so she put in a couple phone calls to her advice line, I think the owner. And she said she wasn't sure, just charge 30 cents. I did not buy them all. I was so tempted. There was about 20 of them. I bought 10 buttons. So I got 10 little handmade with love charm buttons to put on projects or gifts or something cute. And I made sure I saved the business card. They do have an online presence. I gotta go over to Instagram. I have an Instagram too. It's Hooked on Wishing Crochet. But I need to go on Summer Neal's Knit and Needle Instagram. Knit and Needles Sun Valley, and follow her on Instagram because that shop was absolutely adorable. Definitely a place that if I was vacationing longer on a cold, when the family's all out skiing and getting cold, I could go get comfortable and knit and crochet in there. So women were extremely nice. I had a really good time there. Let's see. And then, oh, we were coming back down and we went through a small town called Haley, and there was a train, like a train, and it was a restaurant inside, and they sold pupusas. Oh, they're one of our favorites. In the Bay Area, we're blessed to have so many different people gathered together and so many different things to eat. I don't know if I would have ever been able to try them. It's a thick corn tortilla masa, like a tamale masa, because it's so thick, and it's stuffed inside with their specialty. We had cheese and beans and beef inside of them, and they're pretty thin, like one of those restaurant style fluffy pancakes, and then they're packed inside. But that part's delicious. But the amazing part is the vinegary, heavy on vinegar and oregano, and it's usually cabbage and carrots. And again, if they have a specialty or a family recipe ingredient, they'll sprinkle it in there. It's just a delicious dish. Oh man, it's so good. So we had that, and we ate it on a train. I have pictures, I'll put them back at the end. And then we went back to Burley, and then the next day we were gonna head, it was the day before the next day was the day before Thanksgiving, so we were gonna head to Idaho Falls. So it was a little bit of a road trip. We were gonna be on the road for a few hours, and I had minimal yarn. I didn't have really much of this stuff left at all. The gray fuzzy, didn't have much left. So we stopped at $1.25 store. And I picked up, I was looking around, and Lily, my middle, wanted a hat because, Nola had a cute one. I needed to make one. So when we were at the little yarn shop, she saw that they had knitted patterns for ear flaps. It was a beanie, ear flaps, and ties. And she really liked the feature of the ear flaps. So we went to $1.25 store, and she picked out this Premier yarn plush, and the camera shows it pretty close. It's a dark blue. It reminded me of Cookie Monster. Look, I have some left. It still smells good. So I want to use this bit and make like a little amigurumi Cookie Monster. So I tried crocheting with this stuff. Because I'm left-handed, because it's so soft and flurry-ish, snow talk, it pushed all the fluff and stuff and the loftiness to the back side of my crochet, so it didn't crochet well. Some yarn does well with crochet, some does knitting. This stuff, I put the knitting needles away, and I used a very, very big crochet hook. The opposite of... when I do micro crochet, but I did use a lot of tips. So I used a big hook, and then I worked between the stitches so that I didn't have to really find the tops of the stitches, because when all those stitches start coming together, the two on top, it's hard to catch them from the one on the bottom. But if you're working between posts, you can keep your count up. The count is the important part. So I started from the top of this hat. I got her little earpieces. I started from the top, worked down in just a beanie, just a loose increasing till it fit the dome of her head, and then just straight all the way down. And then I think I did 8. I did 10 across every other row, did some decreasing, and just made a nice little flap. And then I cut off, and then I chained quite a bit, and then cut off, and then I did the other side. Then with this eyelash and a big hook, I just worked all the way around. And she mentioned that she wanted stars. Oh, we got jumbled being in the backpack, being in my duffel bag. So I tied on, I crocheted these little stars, these little dangly stars. Wow, those little points on that star really did get curled. There we go, and we got some dangle on there. On each side, I made a palm, which I could have made the palm fuller now that I realized how much I had left, but It's good. It kept her warm. And we got dangly stars. So Lily liked this one. And I worked on that. That took a couple of days. So that took me until I finished that one by the time we got to St. George, Utah, which was 1, 2, 3 days. But when we got to Idaho, I didn't do any knitting, any crocheting on Thanksgiving. So the road trip to Idaho Falls, the road trip to St. George, I think I finished it up. And this one's Nola's. Where's the little patchy? Yeah. So this one's pretty big, kind of floppy. Nola's got big, luscious, beautiful curls. So there's plenty of space that it doesn't flatten all those. So I got the yarn from $1.25 store before we started heading out the day before. And then we drove to, we drove to Idaho Falls. On the way to Idaho Falls, we went through a little town called Blackfoot, which is an Indian reservation. And they have a Idaho Potato Museum. Okay, this place is cool. I know it's a potato, but, oh, wait, going back. Before we got to Burley, we drove through, Twin Falls. Sorry, go back to day one. On Twin Falls, there's this bridge. I have some beautiful pictures of the bridge. This is where Evel Knievel jumped the canal. And there's a visitor center there. Okay, all the way back. The Potato Museum has lots of facts. It shows a lot of equipment that they used to industrialize the processing and farming of the potatoes. There is even a bit where they talk about Marilyn Monroe and how she even looks pretty in a potato sack, how she can make anything look beautiful. And picked up all these postcards, and I picked up this refrigerator magnet from the Idaho Potato Museum. It's a little black and white of hand picking potatoes. That was fun. And then there was a huge, enormous warehouse filled full of Army surplus. They even had like Jeeps in there. Floor to ceiling shelving full of lots of surplus military stuff. My son has a really good US issued backpack that he's been using for a few years now, and the zipper broke out of it. So I thought maybe we could pick up another one. My intentions was to re-sew the zipper in his backpack, but if a new one was cheaper at this surplus warehouse, let's just get him a new backpack. They're expensive because they're really good quality. The canvas, the weatherproofing, and everything else. I didn't see any yarn. But there were tons of large metal bookshelves, and it was called Project Book Flight. And I guess they ship books of all subjects all over to different military bases. So I was looking through the books, and I didn't see any knit or crochet. Lots of other interest. So maybe that is something I can take into consideration when donating more pattern books like I did for the little free libraries on the Lake Tahoe trip. I think that there's a lot of people in the military that would benefit from crocheting or knitting or picking up a solitary hobby. They also had little travel size items for everything, for hygiene, for personal entertainment, like little pens, little rulers, little notions, really, little sewing kits, travel toothbrushes, just all kinds of things that you may need. And I found little boxes. They were 59 cents, and they're little tiny metal folding scissors. Ay, this one's a little stiff. Folding scissors. They fold up, super small. It didn't really say what metal they're made out of. Roselle brand. But I picked up 6 little boxes to go in giveaways because I thought it would be fun to put a little pair, and it has like a little loop on it, so you could put like a little ring and dangle it off of your project bag. It's not very heavy. It's not aluminum. They're sharp. They're sturdy. Just a fun little thing we picked up. Yarn related. Then we spent Thanksgiving in Idaho Falls, and then the next morning, oh, slow down, Amy. Idaho Falls. Idaho Falls. Absolutely beautiful. Lots of walking trails. When we stepped out of our hotel room in the morning, there's a little dog walking trail across the parking lot. It was filled with snow. So it had rocks down the embankment and a little creek that was frozen over, and some naked trees with snow clumped on them. Picture at the end. That was Idaho Falls. And then we drove from Idaho Falls. Idaho is the tip point, the very, very tippy top. There's a map. We drove from, this isn't all of Idaho, but this is north Idaho Falls. We drove all the way down Idaho into the tip top of Utah. And when we got into Utah, there was snow the whole way from Idaho Falls. On Thanksgiving, it snowed, and the kids got to see snow. It started as frost, and by the time we were done eating dinner and ready to go back to the hotel, it was deep snow. It was amazing. Everything was so beautiful. And so then before we left Idaho Falls, we stopped by a family member's house, and they have a slope in their front yard. So the kids built little ramps and used a bunch of sleds and froze their little hands, changed clothes quickly. They actually played in that snow the most because it was, there was so much of it, and it was so much fun. And then, so into Utah, into the top of Utah, we drove all the way from the top of Utah to the bottom of Utah to St. George. It was beautiful. It reminded me a lot of big industrial city. A lot of retail, a lot of warehouses. We saw a warehouse. We use essential oils. We have a wild orange one that we put in water. It's doTERRA is the company. They do a lot of allergy relief and hair care products and just essential oils. Not sponsored. We saw a huge shipping warehouse for them. Tons and tons of retail. And drove all the way along the huge cliff sides. Absolutely beautiful, all layered with the different colors of stone and sediment over millions and millions of years. It's beautiful. And we drove Salt Lake City all the way down. We saw the Salt Lake, but everything was snowy, bit overcast, so it was hard to view too much of that. And we drove all day long, and we got to St. George, Utah, and we stayed with family. And we got there pretty late, so it was just talking and hugging and picturing. And then the next day we went to Snow Canyon, which is a park, Utah State Park, and they have petrified dunes. Lots of walking trails. What can I say about it? Oh, it's incredible. We actually got out and hiked a bit. Yeah, I hiked a bit without yarn. My son really doesn't like heights, but he did. He got up to the top of these. The way the dunes come down and they're petrified, it's like these long, drawn out staircases that just kind of blob out. And he climbed up all of those and at the top and was waving and saying hi. A very interesting thing about St. George, Utah, they have tortoises. And so along their roads and streets and stuff, there's these cliffs and then the roads on a lot of them where we were. And on those cliff sides, they've built 2-3 foot fencing all the way down the sides of them. So the tortoises don't just walk off the cliff and fall in the streets or land on people. I guess it's a big problem in the springtime. When I was told this, I started looking everywhere on the side of the roads for tortoises, and I didn't see any. Supposedly there's a lot of them at this Snow Canyon State Park in the springtime, but because it's gotten colder, they've already nestled down for hibernation. There's even a trail called Tortoise Walk, and it's this huge long walking trail. So their tortoises are protected. You can't touch them. And I wouldn't touch them, but I would take 1,000,000 pictures if I saw one. Let's see, where's the tortoise trail? Oh, well, there's a trail that you can go on in the springtime, and supposedly they're all out walking around and migrating and having fun. One of the family members we stayed with said that, yeah, the other night they were going to the movie theater, and along the side of the gutter of the road, there's just a little tortoise walking along. Oh, I wanted to see one. Again, another reason to promise to go back and visit soon. From St. George, Utah, it was supposed to be a 2.5 hour ride to Nevada, to Las Vegas. The kids wanted to stay in Las Vegas, and we really wanted to break up the ride home from Utah to home. 9 hours from Vegas to home, 2-3 hours. It would have been a really, really long haul. So from St. George to Las Vegas, we drove through an enormous canyon. Oh, it was huge. It was so beautiful. The vastness of these canyons, I've seen them on TV, but the Discovery Channel does no justice to how beautiful the layers of sediment is. And I kept asking Brandon, the Grand Canyon's deeper than this, bigger than this? And he said, yeah. So I gotta go do that too. So we got to Las Vegas, and we decided to stay at Circus because we only have one night. We better party it up. These kids were so good the whole trip. There was no fighting or arguing from the back seat. No, he touched me, she's looking at me, none of that. They did incredible. So we stayed at Las Vegas. Got a postcard that will be mailed soon. And Las Vegas. We did Circus. They had the entertainment in the middle. They all got their little gameplay cards. They all won tons of trinkety, plushety things, but yarn related. When I got off the elevator, we're on the 15th floor, about 2 miles from the car. I found a little pom-pom laying on the ground that popped off of somebody's winter hat. And it's got a tiny little hole in it, but I'm gonna stitch it all the way around and pull it together. Found a pom-pom, yarn related. So we stayed the night in Vegas. Circus. It's an old hotel. It sees a lot of traffic because it's Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is not known for its comfort sleeping zones. It was rough. The bed was lumpy. The carpeting was sticky. Blech. It was fine. The kids had a great time. We didn't even spend much time in the room, which is the point of Vegas, right? So we drove down the strip, and they got to see all the lights and the fun stuff. Ryan does boxing at the Lion's Den. So we made sure we drove real slow past the MGM because that's where all the big boxing tournaments go on. And he got to see the big golden lions, and Lily got to see the Eiffel Tower. It was incredible. Coming out of Las Vegas, coming home, that was Sunday. We drove through the Mojave Desert. Beautiful landscaping. I know it's the desert, but there's so much. I used to live closer to San Francisco, and we used to have a fog that would come in at night. We had a lot of plant growth and a lot of mulch. The dirt was a very high quality soil. I could get anything to grow. Beautiful garden. 3 years ago, we moved here to Oakley, California, which is more farming area. It used to be complete orchards, and it's a bit of a wide valley, and my yard is sand. There's no micronutrients, no soil, no composting, and I've been working on it. Been turning my dirt. We have chickens. I've been taking the chicken yard mess and hay and straw and everything, and really working it into my sand, trying to get something to grow. And there's just not a lot of water here. Our water table's high. The roots don't. The sand heats up throughout the day because we don't have any trees or shade. So I've tried establishing those first. The Mojave Desert was inspirational. It was beautiful. There's so many different sages and bushes and things that were blooming because we did see a little bit. Things aren't quite dormant yet because they didn't get snow, but it's cold in the desert. So Joshua trees, they're beautiful. Not in the same typical foresty beautiful, like if you went up north towards Oregon or Washington beautiful, even, maple leaf beautiful, but they have their own elegance to them. In the landscaping, they do a lot with different colored boulders. Even in the communities, they really embrace the desert scene in Utah, where they're doing a lot of landscaping, dry riverbeds and stuff like that. It was inspirational there are things that I can do to my front yard to make it not look like dead grass. So that was fun going through the Mojave Desert, very relaxing, just watching the miles go by. We drove through Bakersfield, through Fresno, and I learned that halfway between Bakersfield and Fresno is a little town. Now I can't remember what it's called. Selma? It said that it was the #1 world producer of raisins. I like raisins. But that's a Sun-Made Raisin Company. Didn't know that. That was interesting. Right out of Las Vegas, we stopped at a famous little Greek restaurant called the Mad Greek, which all your tourist brochures, all your touristy stuff says, stop there and get yourself a gyro. It was amazing. It was really good. Flat pita bread and beef lamb carved very thick with a tzatziki sauce. It was really good. And after the Mad Greek, we drove past Area 51. So recently in the news, they've released quite a bit of information about aliens and whatnot. Also in the news, there was this, a few years ago, there's a bunch of people that were going to storm the gates of Area 51 and the military base, where supposedly there's been alien artifacts and things collected. I don't really remember how the news turned out on that, but I don't think the U.S. military let that happen, or much leak after that. But when we got there, there was a huge tourist spot, a little cafe and some trinkety things, and I thought of Robert and Cindy with Pups and Crochet, so I made sure that I got a keychain. I'll have to mail that off, the little Christmas card. Aliens, Bigfoot, it's all cool. Who knows if it's real or not? I just love the curiosity of the whole thing. I did take a picture of Bigfoot. I saw him. He was in a truck stop, and I was getting coffee. Had to take a picture with the guy. I'll tag that in the end too. And then we got home. It was about, so that was from Las Vegas to home was only supposed to be 8-9 hours. And the GPS on the phones said to go through Bakersfield, Fresno, into the Bay Area where we live. It showed us 3 different ways. This was the quickest way with the less red blurps. There were a lot of red blurps. So here in California, when we're driving down the highway or freeways, the exits are always on the right. That's just the way it's always been. The exits are on the right, and then when there's an on-ramp, it adds a lane. Well, for a while, there's 3 lanes or more, and then it's always the one on the right that has to merge into the next lane. Not down, what is that, Highway 99? Highway 99, we were on it forever. And there's a whole bunch of little exits, little towns, lots of retail, shopping centers, and that sort of thing. It's the fast lane that merges into the middle lane to make it back down to 2. Every time it did that, because we're just not used to driving that way, everything would slow down. The whole freeway would slow down, and it would add to our GPS tracking time 5 more minutes, 20 more minutes, 15 more minutes. I'm almost home. I've been in the car for 8 days and I'm almost home. I had no yarn. I had this little bit left, which I did find a turtle trunk pattern that makes a small twisted headband, and it's got these little single crochet picots in it, and you twist it on itself, and it has 2 ties, and it makes a cute little bow. Not quite enough, but I was gonna modify that last row just to make it enough, and then you go over and it makes the tie, so I might be able to still squeeze that out. So that was 3 projects with this 1 skein, and then I used 2 skeins of these, so that was pretty good. I didn't take a whole lot of bulk. I didn't buy any yarn except for that from $1.25 store. That wasn't my yarny trip like the Lake Tahoe trip. I was being conservative. So worked on that. And then by the time we were long haul home, I think that 8-9 hour trip turned into like 10, pretty close to 11. We had to stop and eat. We had to use the bathroom a few times. We really did make it minimal. Everyone was ready to come home. Everyone was ready to get home. So came home, unloaded the car that we rented from Brandon's dealership, got it all cleaned up. It was a 2024 Jeep Wrangler. New cars are really nice. The seat warmer felt so good after being in the snow, or just if you've been sitting for a while, to turn on a little heat and let all your muscles in your back relax. There's little tiny nice features, like in the door handle on the car, there's like a little light. So if you get out at a truck stop to use the bathroom at night, you know, you're unfamiliar with the car, you're like feeling for the handle. It was nice. It had a lot of like cruise control features that he was messing around with at distance, and then kind of made me nervous because it's almost self-driving how you can cruise control a certain speed to the car in front of you. So if they start to slow down, your car automatically starts to slow down to keep the distance. It was neat. It was a beautiful, wonderful, relaxing trip. And as much as I like to go places and do things, it always feels good to be home. Just my regular old cup of coffee. This is good. I put a tiny little splash of peppermint extract with my heavy whipping cream in my coffee. The hotels are fun. They have nice, strong coffee. Truck stops have nice, strong coffee, which I like. But then occasionally get that burnt pot taste that it's been sitting there for a while. And sometimes the creamers are all flavored, and that's added sugar. Don't do flavored creamers. I do sugar-free. Yeah, it's just good to be home. Good to see you. Good to talk to you. This is a long video. It's almost 45 minutes long. And I have a lot of postcards to write.